Hi everyone, it's Mr. Rosen here again. Today I'm going to be giving you a little demo of a website called Obvibase. Obvibase is a really good online database program. It's just a website and it is free to use, so you do sort of get like a demo. You get limited space, but you can still try it out. There is a paid version as well, and it's really good for, like I said, getting a database. This is one of the only online database programs I've seen that work really well. Most of the time, you have to install software on your computer. And let me give you a little demo of how this thing works. So the website itself is just obvibase.com. And what I'm going to do is sign in with a Google account. You can go ahead and make your own account. You can use Facebook, whatever you want. For me, it's just easier to use Google. Now, I've used this site before. Um, yeah, so I was in here earlier and I deleted my previous one. So that's why it's saying that. Let me just go ahead and click in here. And I'm going to go by opening a database. Okay, so this is the list of the ones that I have right now. I've used this before. You probably haven't. If you haven't, you probably are at a screen that says new database. You probably have something like this up. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new database. And what I would recommend you do is to check off numeric IDs. I'll discuss the difference between these two in a bit, but right now I would use numeric IDs. And I'm going to call this thing sports equipment. Let's create a database. And here we go. So a database is kind of like a spreadsheet. It's going to turn out with rows and columns, just like a spreadsheet would. So you have to imagine you've got some items you want to store in there. So, like if I'm going to store sports equipment, what sort of characteristics might I want to record? So let's go ahead and add a column. And we've got some options here. Let's deal with a text one first, text column. And let's call this manufacturer. So maybe if I imagine I'm a sports store and I got to record information about my items in my store, I might want to know the manufacturer who made it, right? I might want to know, let's do a text thing again, the model number, or not model number, model name, sorry. Okay, I might also want to know, for example, the equipment type. So is it baseball, is it hockey, that sort of stuff. And let's go with a number for price. And what else do we got in here? Okay, we also have checkboxes and dates. Dates are just like if you want to maybe pick have a date picker, that's what that would be for. But let's go with the checkbox. And I'm going to say is used. So maybe my store is going to have used equipment as well. Okay, so we've got some characteristics of each item. I'm going to talk about these two in a second. These were the default ones added in. But right now I've got the manufacturer of the item, the model name, the equipment type, the price, and whether it's used or not. Let's go ahead and add a few in. So let's add in a row. Manufacturer, let's say, is Reebok. Model number or model name, I don't know, BK105. I have no idea. Maybe it's a basketball. Price, we'll say, is $45.99. It's not used. Let's add another one in here. Let's go with the Bauer. HKST99. I have no idea. I'm making stuff up here. It's a hockey stick. Price, let's say, is $73.50. And maybe we'll make that one used. So that's a used item. We'll add in a few more things here. Nike, TC jersey. It's a jersey. Price $124. It's not used. And we're going to add two more. We're going to add 5 things in here. We'll do another Reebok item. I don't know. RN-98. I'm just making these things up here. It's running shoe. Price $85.75. It's not used. And we'll add one more in here. We'll do another Nike item. GF or GC 43 equipment, golf clubs, price, I don't know, $279, and that's new. Actually, I'm gonna add one more, and let's say the store has 2 sets of golf clubs, exact same. KC-43 again, golf clubs, also $279. Okay, so in a way, it kind of looks like a spreadsheet. We've got rows and columns. The thing to remember about a database is that there's different terminology. So these things here, like manufacturer, model name, equipment, the price, these are called fields. So it contains all of the field information or the field data. And each of the rows is called a record. So think about row and record. They both start with an R, so it's an easy way of remembering it. Okay. Each record is all of the information about a single item, and generally these are real-world items. So down here, this is a Reebok basketball. It's got a price of $45.99. It's got a model number, and these are or a model name, and these are all. This is all based off a real-world item. I mean, I made it up, but you can imagine it being a real item, right? The ID. Every database should have something called a primary key. And a primary key is sort of it's a field that is unique to each item. So if you look, the one I selected when I created this, it asked me for, I could do it by name or ID. The ID I find is a little bit better because every single item in my database is going to have its own unique ID. Now, why is that important? Right here is why. So imagine my store, for example, had 2 sets of golf clubs. They're identical. They're both made by Nike, both sets of golf clubs, both the same exact price, right? How do I know or how do I distinguish between each one, even though they're exactly the same, right? These are 2 different real world objects, but all of the properties are exactly the same. The only difference is going to be the primary key, which in this case is the ID number 5 and ID number 6. So if I sell the first one, I could go ahead and delete that row, for example. I could delete it because that thing is now gone, right? And that's how I know. That's how I distinguish between those 2. I wonder if I can undo that. Let's see here. Probably could go back in my history, but I'm not going to worry about it. You sort of get the idea, I'm hoping. Every single item has its own unique ID. And that's done on purpose. That's to distinguish all of the items. So let's go ahead and add. I'm just going to add it back in. Not totally positive how to undo that at this exact second. I did see in here you can go and probably go into an older version, but I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so I've got my database restored now. So now let me just show you another thing that's very, very powerful about databases. The best thing about databases is the ability to do searches. So let's say, for example, I want to find all of my items in my database that are Nike. Okay, so what I can do is I can click on manufacturer, and I can filter, and it has to contain Nike. And there we go. We can see everything with that's made by Nike in my store. It literally took 2 seconds to do it. We can clear these out. So back to default filters, and we can see it the way it is again. Now that seemed really easy, right? But you imagine that you typed all this stuff into a spreadsheet. Now instead of 6 items in here or 7 items, imagine you had 100,000 items. Like a big box store, they might even have 1,000,000 items for sale. How do you pull up all of the Nike items easily? You can't. You could maybe sort your table and try and get the Nike stuff all by itself, but it's still not nearly as easy as just clicking on this and then filtering it. We could do the same thing with other things as well. So if I want all of the basketball equipment, do a filter, all my basketball items. There we go. I can quickly see it. And you can actually do multiple things. So let's clear that filter out again. And imagine I need to find all of the Nike jerseys. So we can go to here. We can filter by Nike. And we can also filter here by jersey. And now I've got all of the Nike jerseys in my store. So again, it's a pretty simple example I have, but it does show how to use it. So again, I'm just going to reset this again. Whoops. Hold on here. Let's remove that filter out of here. I gotta clear these filters out. There we go. So again, the whole point is, like I said, if you have a really small database like this, it may not be incredibly worth it to actually work with a database. You could do it with a spreadsheet. But if you have like thousands of items, being able to search and sort through it is really powerful. Um, like I said, it just saves a lot of time, and that's the most powerful thing. A search in a database is called a query, and you can get some pretty complicated queries out there. And like I said, it's a really useful tool. So I showed you how to search by text type. Well, you can also do things by numbers. So you can filter. Let's find all of the items that are maybe greater than $100. We can do the same thing with this. Let's remove that. We can find with the checkboxes, we can search for things that are simply just checked. There we go. We got all our used items. So it's really, really easy to use these filters. Honestly, it's not hard. You can play around with them. Pretty straightforward stuff. There's one other thing I think I can show you. And let's see about, let's say this equipment type here. Okay, if you go to settings on this, under equipment type, right down here where it says choices, it says values can be any text. You can type anything you want, right? You can actually turn these into multiple choice, which is really cool. So right now it said values are from a list of choices, right? So you can do things like this. So this is the equipment type, right? You could type basketball, hockey, volleyball, running. What else here? Pick one more. Golf. Click Save Changes. And now watch what happens here. When I go, these are now drop-down menus. And I can do multiple choice. So I can select like that, right? So this one's running. Okay, this one's going to be a hockey jersey. This one's also hockey. And this one's going to be basketball. So if I add another item in, for example, let's say I've got a, I don't know, Canadian Tire model. I don't know. Just make up Canadian Tire hockey stick here. CDNSTK. Equipment type, it's going to be hockey. So it's just a drop-down menu. So you can make it even more idiot-proof and just make it multiple choice if it's things like that. You can do the same thing with manufacturer. If you've got only a limited number of manufacturers, you could type them all in and save some time when you do that. Okay, it's $50 and maybe this thing is used. So this is my little demo of a sports equipment database. I showed you how to do searches, how to add items in, or how to add records in, how to do some filtering, and also known as queries or searches. The only thing I can show you is in here, you know, if you needed to print it out, for example, you can do that. You can click the print button and it'll print, no problem. You can export them as well. So if you go under export, okay, you can do it. I believe it'll go in as a spreadsheet file, so you can export, which is really, really cool. And yeah, so again, this is a little demo of Obvibase. I didn't show every single little feature in here, but I showed enough to get you started with it. It's a pretty useful tool. It's free, which is nice to use. And I hope you enjoyed the video.